Indeed, cooking your food is not a great idea. In fact, this that food very poor in nutrients is the reason of all our elemental conditions, be they physical, psychological, or emotional. And this is mainly through the two pillars of our modern food diet, which are the consumption of animal proteins and carbohydrates.
Hi guys, welcome to our channel. On this channel, we intend to talk about health, what it means and how to reclaim your health. We will be getting away from the usual preconceived ideas and dogmas in health and give you hints and clues based on our experience, on history and on scientific studies. Then it will be up to you to decide what to do. Our advice is to never take anything for granted, question whatever you're told, and then choose what feels right for yourself. I'm Paola.
I'm Ladislas.
Whatever our age, I think we all agree that we'd like to stay healthy, with a nice figure, without disease, and if any, recover and remain healthy until we leave this world. And I think we all know intuitively that somehow what we eat has a direct impact. And so it is paramount to go for the right food choices. But nowadays we have so many food options, new options every day at restaurants, at the supermarket. We can buy ready meals, we can keep some food forever, not mentioning that we are constantly led to buy and eat. To the point where too many choices kill the choice. So let's have a look at what is the right food for us as humans. And yes, before we start, if you're not a member of our community and you want to get an excellent free Living Foods ebook to start your journey to get back to shape, then visit our website www.re-genesis.co.za. You just have to enter your name and your email address and you'll get that game changer book for free. Some of you have asked us what the natural food for human is. The food that respects our physiology as human. The question is key because that food is a major factor, with a few others that we'll go through on this channel, in allowing us to live a long and healthy life. So I'm here with Ladislas today, who is going to answer our questions, and I was told he will end up this chat with a little story. I love stories. So Ladis, to launch this chat, I think you wanted to go back to Greek antiquity, right?
Yes, absolutely, Paula. I would like to report here those famous words of Hippocrates, the famous Greek physician, who lived 400 years before Christ and who is regarded in the West as one of the most outstanding figures in the history of medicine. You must have heard of him, or at least one of his famous words, let food be your medicine and medicine be your food.
You can grasp through these words how the food diet was important to Hippocrates.
Absolutely. So he did not see food and medicine as one and the same thing, not at all. But it's obvious from his writing that diet and lifestyle were at the core of his principles about doctors' responsibility in the treatment tools they should use. This speaks volume, right?
It does, definitely. So, ladies, what is the right food for human beings?
Well, the ideal food is the diet that is perfectly suitable for each individual without any unsuitable food, for human species.
All right, then maybe let's start to list those unsuitable products for humans.
Yes, we can do that. They include refined products, ready meals, fried food, overcooked food, processed food, animal byproducts, which means low quality animal products, cereals, legumes, non-raw dairy products, not mentioning stimulants like alcohol, drugs, coffee, etc., etc. Now, these are pleasures or subsistence foods that should not enter an ideal food diet.
All right, so what is the ideal food diet for humans then?
What we know for sure is that from a physiological point of view, our food should be 80% plant-based, alive, which means more than raw, very fresh, with oily seeds, fresh fruits, and ideally organic, to pack even more nutrients. In the remaining 20%, everyone does its own thing because it depends on your genetics, your phenotype, your endocrine system, your age, weight, physical activity, even cultural environment, family context, and your convictions. This is a far cry from the usual dietary recommendation, which is twice a day strong animal product like meat and fish, 4 times a day dairy product, most of the time pasteurized, twice a day carbohydrate in the form of cereals, sugar, and snacking.
And that is like 3 to 5 times food intake per day.
Alas, yes, correct. When we should be closer to 2 food intakes per day, which is more like intermittent fasting.
Mhm. So you say 80% of our food should be plant-based, living foods. But why living foods? Why is it so obvious?
Well, if you think about it for a minute, like any other species on Earth, we should be able to eat what nature provides without needing to process it, right? And like any other species on Earth, we should be able to eat only what our body can digest. That's what happens in the wild. You won't see a giraffe eating fish, nor a buffalo eating an impala, or a lion eating corn.
For sure, but then why do we eat almost anything?
Maybe because we were all told that human beings are omnivorous, that they can virtually eat anything.
But can we really?
Well, can we, like any carnivore species, eat a bloody fresh prey we've just killed? Can we do that? Or maybe we can graze on fresh grass, ruminate and regurgitate at will like herbivorous species. What about seeds? Do we pick them with our beak and digest them in our gizzard?
Obviously not. So why do we eat all those sorts of food? Because of our hunter-gatherers origins?
Oh yes. Yeah, well, the first men were gatherers, and thousands of years later, because of continental drift and glaciation, some of them became hunters. With the discovery of fire and coal, they started to cook the plant and roots they could find in order to defeat the cold. But because this dead diet wasn't supplying enough energy, they also started to hunt for meat. But because they didn't have the digestive system of carnivores, they accumulated acidity in their body and subsequently got into trouble.
Mhm. So you're literally saying that cooked food is a problem for humans. I would like you to elaborate on this a bit.
Well, sure. Why do we eat food for? Let's think about it. Is it for proteins, for calcium, or even for micronutrients? None of these, as a matter of fact. We eat food to be filled up with energy. Remember, we're the only species on this planet to cook our food. But how much energy do we think a lifeless food can generate? It is true that cooking makes it easier to digest meat and kills bacteria and fungus. But it kills also any vibration of energy, of life. It kills any of these little materials that actually nourish your body, called micronutrients.
Micronutrients as opposed to macronutrients, which are the big categories that we all know, like carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids or fat.
Correct. So when you cook between 42 and 55 degrees Celsius, enzymes die. At 100 degrees Celsius, minerals are precipitated, meaning our body cannot use them anymore. At 110 degrees, what was left of vitamins is dead as well. The Max Planck Institute in Germany has shown that cooking proteins only have 50% of bioavailability compared to raw proteins. In other words, they've lost 50% of their ability to be used by our body. So, in terms of global destruction, of all the nutrients that are supposed to feed our system, you're looking at roughly 85%. Besides, cooking generally produces toxic synthetic molecules called Maillard molecule, the name of the French biologist. They clog our system and favor cancerization, aging, and degenerative diseases. Cooked food also generates what is called digestive leukocytosis. Essentially, when we eat cooked food, our body reacts in a defensive way by generating a white cells army. The strength of that phenomenon will depend on the cooking type and time. Cooking also mechanically increases the quantity of pesticides in your food with the rearrangements of molecules. All these phenomena don't occur with raw food at all.
So it really shows that cooked food is not physiological.
Indeed, cooking your food is not a great idea. In fact, this that food very poor in nutrients is the reason of all our ailments and conditions, be they physical, psychological, or emotional. And this is mainly through the two pillars of our modern food diet, which are the consumption of animal proteins and carbohydrates.
So let's focus first on animal proteins. What can we say?
Well, before we talk about animal proteins, let's all agree that what is left from the food we eat, the waste, is flushed out of our body through our inventories, which are anus, kidneys, skin, nostril, ears, etc. And for those of us on this planet who can eat 3 times a day or more, do we go to the toilets to flush out 3 times a day?
No, most certainly not.
Then what is left must stack up somewhere inside, right? So what's stuck up little by little will generate what is called clogging, fouling, and this will eventually result in symptoms we call diseases.
Okay, let's take an example. Animal protein, we find them in meat, fish, cheese, dairy products.
Yes, the problem is that we have not been given the digestive system of carnivores with short intestines and very strong kidneys. Our kidneys are not equipped to eliminate the putrescine, the cadaverine, the creatine, and the uric acid those products contain. You must picture that acid as little crystals or sand grains. That's what is left after the animal protein has been processed by our system. Our kidneys can't flush them, and as a result, they remain in our lymphatic system in which our cells bask. Those acids burn our nerves ending, deprive us from our minerals, and as a result generate demineralization. One of the roles of our lymphatic system is to stream out what our body rejects, what it cannot process. The accumulation of those uric acids, crystals, is the source of any trouble and illness that cause pain, itching, or burn in our body.
So if you suffer from headache, cysts, arthritis, head burns, painful periods, endometriosis, psoriasis, etc., the chances are that the amount of acidity you've trapped within yourself is a major cause of it.
Correct. Your body's attempt to get rid of the poison you're feeding it with is the cause of what is called illness. And to do that, your body always uses the strongest inventory, the strongest organ of your body as an exit door.
We'll definitely discuss how we become ill into details in another video, and I'll put the link there.
Yes, and for now, just remember one thing. Clear the acidity, bring loads of minerals, and you will see a massive change in your condition.
Got it. So now, what about carbohydrates? Do they generate the same sort of fouling?
Kind of. The second pillar of our dead food diet is the consumption of carbohydrates or starchy food. The human liver can perfectly digest fruits and vegetables, but not the slow sugars from pasta, pizza, bread, beans, etc. Our liver generates mucus and viscosities.
In other words, glue.
While trying to process them. That glue builds up everywhere in the environment in which our cells bathe.
So this is why carbohydrates are also called slow sugar. It's because they slow us down, literally.
Exactly. That glue slows down all the functions of our system, including flushing, and gets stored in our lymphatic system. Its accumulation and the attempt from our system to get rid of it has a direct impact on any trouble, condition, disease that is not painful but rather generates discomfort.
Okay, like asthma, cold, breathing issue, myopia, deafness, circulation issues, women, white discharge, etc.
Well, again, the intelligence of life chooses the strongest exit door, the strongest organ to expel the poison we feed it with. That's why the flushing route is different depending on our terrain.
Makes sense. So, what is living foods then?
Well, living foods is the consumption of food in which the subtle principle of life, energy, and intelligence of the living is still present. In opposition to cooked food in which any principle of life has gone. That food keeps us in perfect health, maintains our energy levels very high, and keep our ideas, thoughts, emotions, and vibration connected to the universal intelligence, also called the divine. Your thoughts and emotions are no longer the same, and your stamina has nothing to do with what you've experienced before.
So living food basically carries out life and transmits life.
Well, in the animal reign, we have the same digestive system as the big apes, with long intestine and weak kidneys. They essentially eat fruits, roots, vegetables, berries, and seeds. This is what the intelligence of life has given us. This is our human food as human beings.
And this is what we intend by living foods. So it sounds difficult to fathom that you can be filled up by just eating fruits, raw veggies, and nuts. Do you understand those who can feel a bit puzzled?
Well, eating living foods will bring you more energy than any cooked or processed food and give you sensations that you've never had before. I'm not joking. Cooked food exhausts your system, while a fruit is very quickly digested. In 20 minutes, it's out of your stomach. Besides, when you eat cooked food, you are conditioned, used to finish a meal up until your receptors send you the signal that you're full. With living foods, you will naturally eat till your receptors tell you that you have enough, which is different. The more you're going to eat living foods, the more you're going to make a difference between fullness, because your stomach is full, and satiety, because your body has got what it needs.
And we must say that living foods is a highly exciting universe to explore.
Indeed, there are tons of simple and elaborate yummy recipes to explore out there that will do incredibly good. So go for it, it will change your life.
Some of you ask if we can help, and the answer is yes. We do coach those who want to make a transition towards living foods, those who are sick or not feeling fit and need help, and those who want to have a natural hygiene understanding of health. We're actually currently designing a few health programs, so please visit our website for more details. We'll put the link below this video. And so, how to eat lentils, chickpeas, maize, etc. Anything that is usually cooked.
Well, lentils, cereals, and chickpeas can be eaten as germinated seeds, but instead of wanting to eat raw what you usually cook, eat more of what you usually eat raw.
like fruits, for example.
Besides, if you need to cook some food to absorb it, if having it raw is impossible, then it's not meant for our human body. Therefore, remember this simple rule. Anything you cannot eat raw, but needs to be cooked in order to be edible, is definitely not meant for human consumption.
Okay, I think you have a little story for us to illustrate your point, right?
Yes, absolutely. I'd like to tell you a story of Max Gerson, a German doctor who immigrated to the USA in the 1930s, so it's like a century ago now. He realized that he was healing people by changing their food diet. He would strictly avoid any animal protein and only concentrate on fruits and vegetables. When he was studying to be a doctor in the 1920s, he was suffering from chronic migraines. He asked the help of his lecturers, but they said that he had to live with it because they couldn't do anything. He was looking for a solution a bit everywhere, and one day, while going through the records, the archives of Berlin University, he happened to find a report from a doctor from 30 years before saying that one of his female patients had cured her heavy migraines by changing her diet. Despite his research, he was unable to find any additional information on that case, and so he decided to investigate it himself. He started by doing on diets to see if he had migraines. So one day on apples, another day on milk, another day on eggs, etc., etc. He realized after a while that when he was eating meat, milk, or cheese, the pain from his migraines was kicking in nearly immediately for a few hours or even for days. When he was eating things like carrots, apples, etc., there was nothing. So he carried on with his life until he reached the end of his studies. When he finished studying as a doctor, he had patients suffering from migraines as well. He told them, look, this is what I did for my case and it worked for me, maybe you should try for yourself. And those women were telling him after a while that they had no migraines anymore. But he also realized that not only did they stop suffering from migraines, but they were also healed from their pustules and other skin diseases. These women, they're working in milk farms, so they were drinking milk. It is no surprise that they were suffering from migraines and skin issues. And those women used to tell him that they didn't have those skin problems anymore and that it was due to their change of diet. But he used to answer, no, it's impossible. This is for migraines. It has nothing to do with the skin. But he realized at some point that those women would also be healed from any of the disease they were suffering from, including tumors and cancer.
Wow. You're not joking. This is a true story, right?
It is a true story, Paula. Yep. At that time, there were not many drugs and people had a strong constitution and were able to evacuate the tumor only with a change of diet. So he started to experiment by changing the diet of people who had other illnesses than the ones most women were suffering from. And he realized that it worked. He then decided to talk about it with his former teachers from Berlin University and suggested that they do what he was doing to cure people who had the same conditions as the ones he was dealing with. They said, no thank you, we won't take the chance. But if you want to experiment, go on with this patient who suffer from tuberculosis and are about to die. And so he did. By changing their diet, many stopped suffering from tuberculosis.
Obviously, this didn't happen in a day.
Of course, they had elimination crisis, but they eventually healed. Since he was a young doctor, his teachers put him aside and put their names on the result of the study. Those things are in the records. Then the Second World War came and he moved to the US. He started curing people from the illnesses they had by changing their food diet and doing cleansings with purges, things that had always existed but that he brought up to date. The word of mouth spread in New York where he lived. He was prosecuted by doctors and the College of Physicians, and he ended up before the US Congress. He explained what he was doing. He brought up tons of people he healed to testify for him. And although the US Congress should have let him do what he was doing because he was curing people, they decided otherwise. After the hearings, under the pressure of budging lobbies on the pharmaceutical industry, a decree banned thereon any therapy to treat cancer other than surgeries and chemotherapies. And so Max Gerson left New York and went to Tijuana in Mexico and founded the Gerson Clinic. Nowadays you also have one in Hungary, I think, where he cured people from cancer.
Wow, that's a great story. So, in a nutshell, the question of the right food, that is the right fuel for our body, is key to live healthier and longer.
Mm-hmm.
That natural food for humans, the one for which our body was designed for, is a raw plant-based food with fruits, vegetables and nuts. An ideal food should therefore incorporate at least 80% of that food.
Mm-hmm.
We must stay away from processed, refined and fried products, ready meals, dairy, cereals and stimulants because they are not compatible with our body as they poison us and slow us down and deplete it from our vital energy. Cooked food is not ideal, not only because it generates mucus and acid and fouling, but also because with heat, life dies, the chemical composition of food changes, and the macronutrients our body needs pass away. All of this leading eventually to an outburst of symptoms we call disease.
Correct. We hope you've enjoyed this video. What is now important is that you take action to improve your diet and better for your health. Start now. For your next meal, add more plant-based food to your diet and take away the crisps, the chips, the sodas, all of these. If you need sweet drinks, have fresh squeezed fruit juice instead. Please share below in the comments what action you've decided to take from now on. We would love to know.
And if you've enjoyed this video, or if you know someone who would benefit from it, just make their day by being the person who will add value to their life just by sharing this video with them. And finally, follow the link to our website below this video to download our free Living Foods ebook that will increase the living foods intake for your body. That way, you will also be the first ones to know when our health programs will be ready. Take good care of yourself. Bye bye.